and welcome to Using Google Slides for Remote Teaching, hosted by the Technology Training Team. If you are looking for more resources for remote teaching, please visit our website at bit.ly/pgcps remote teaching. We are your hosts today. My name is Clarissa Burton, and I'm also joined here with Kimberly Roberson, who will be conducting today's session, and we will be answering all your questions that you have about Google Slides. So let's look at a little overview of G Suite before we get started. So Google for Education really houses everything within what's called Google Drive. And Google Drive is what we can kind of consider our filing cabinet. It's where we store all of our files. We can create new files and share them with our colleagues. Within our Google Drive, you can create new Google Docs, which are similar to like Microsoft Word, slides, similar to PowerPoint, and we're going to dive into that here today, as well as Google Forms, where you can create surveys and quizzes for your students. And all of these applications interact with Google Classroom. So anything we do with inside Google Classroom really syncs well with these Google applications. So how does this work? Many of you may be very familiar with Microsoft PowerPoint. And Microsoft PowerPoint, if we want to have other people collaborate and give ideas to the presentation, we have to send them an email and attach the link to that PowerPoint. So we might be sending that PowerPoint to multiple people. Once they've made their changes, they're going to then have to email that back to you, and now you have 3 or 4 different versions of that one PowerPoint. But with Google Slides, we have a little bit of easier collaboration here, where you have one document, and then you just invite other collaborators to that document itself. So it really makes a seamless collaboration between users. So why would we use slides? Why are we directing you here? We've already looked at the seamless collaboration, and it also interacts with Google Classroom. So our students can manipulate and edit these Google Slides without having to upload assignments and to import other sources. We also have that added benefit because when we do use Google Slides, it is stored automatically in our Google Drive, where we have unlimited storage. So you think about PowerPoint, when we say that to our desktop, it slows down the processing speed of our computer. We don't have that with Google Slides because we have that unlimited storage in the cloud. And finally, and the most important way, is the variety of possibilities. There are so many ways that we can use slides, and you will see that here today as we go on. So by the time you leave, you will no longer be thinking of Google Slides the way you did before, and you'll have all these ideas of how you can get started. So let's get started with creating slides. How do we get there? What are some ways we can use them? So there are the generic way that we can use slides, and that's with using them as a presentation tool. So that's sharing information we want students or others to learn about by sharing in those presentations. The other thing you can do is you can assess learning. So having a journal, which we'll dive in here today, you can do graphic organizers, doing that like cut and paste type of activities, but making them more virtual. So how do we get there? There are several ways to get to Google Slides, and one of the ways is going through your Gmail. So when you are inside your Gmail, up at the top right-hand side, you're going to find the app launcher. When you select the app launcher, all of the Google applications, well, most of them are going to show up there. From there, we're going to select our Drive, and we go here really because it's that housing tool for all of the Google apps. And then we'll select New and choose Google Slides. So I will take you there real quick just so you can see how we're going to get to the Drive. So I'm going to go into my Gmail. I'm going to go up to that top right-hand side, select the app launcher, and go down to where you'll see Drive. Once I open up my Google Drive, you'll see my large filing cabinet here with lots of different activities. My drive is down here underneath priority, where you will see my different folders I have, as well as files that I may not have organized yet. Once we're here, we're going to select New and go down to Slides. So another way that you can do this is you can go right up to the app launcher directly up at the right-hand side and go down and select Slides itself. Once you select Slides, it will take you in to where all of you can kind of view all your slides in one place, ones that you've collected, ones that you've shared, people have shared with you. You can create a new blank presentation at the top left, but next to that, you're going to notice several different templates. And if you click here on Template Gallery, you will find where you can actually use templates that are already created. So we have the ones for PGCPS, and then if we select General, there are more templates you have here to choose from. And another way that we can get started with Google Slides is directly in Google Classroom itself. So if you go into Google Classroom and you go to create an assignment, when you get to creating an assignment, you'll have this option here to create. And what this does is it's going to open up a new Google slide in a new tab. You'll notice it will say Untitled. And this will stay here even as we title the document until you assign it to students. So it almost has to refresh. So you see here I have a new presentation, and then in my classroom it says Untitled. So even when I change this now to a different title, it's not going to change in Google Classroom right away. Once you assign it, that presentation will change for you, the presentation title. So those are really 3 different ways for you to get into Google Slides and get started. Doesn't matter which way you go in, as long as you find a way that works best for you. We will be navigating through this toolbar throughout the presentation today and really diving into what each of these mean. And what you'll find is a lot of these toolbar applications are the same across all the Google tools here. So if you use it in one tool, so if you're very familiar with Docs, it's going to be the same with Slides. So just an easy way for you to navigate between the Google applications. All right, so we're ready here. We're going to dive in deep into some advanced features and see some templates to use. And as we go along, so when you leave here, you're going to actually know, have some templates to get started and know how to really use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up another Google slide here for us. And I'm going to use my favorite way to get to slides, which I have not shared yet, and that's using slides.new. And I like it because it's a shortened URL. I can remember it when I get there quickly. Just some things to note is that you do have to be in the Chrome browser and you do have to be signed in. So you'll see I have my little picture icon over here on the right to know that I'm signed into the browser. So after I type in slides.new, it's going to take me into a new presentation here that I can get started. The first thing I want to do when I sign in and create a new presentation is give it a title. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just create a student learning journal. And then I'm going to need to house it someplace within my drive. So within Google Slides, you can organize your drive so you can find the file later. So up next to the title, you're going to see the folder icon, and it says Move underneath it. So if I select that, all of my Google Drive files are going to populate. And from there, I can choose where I want to store it. So this is my student learning journal, and I have actually created a student learning folder here where I can put That's in my sample work here. If I wanted to create a new folder, so I didn't like this title for sample work, or I wanted to put it somewhere different, if you go down to the bottom, you can add a new folder directly in Google Slides itself to get started there. So I'm going to go ahead and select Move and file this document away into my sample work files. So let's get started within this toolbar. The first thing we're going to do is really look at adding in an image. So I'm going to exit out of these themes because it's not something I need to look at now. And I'm going to go ahead and add in an image. So images is important because you can really do a lot with them and have your students work within the slide itself. So to add an image, you're going to go up to the word Insert, and you'll see Image is here. Now, the first thing that you can do is you can upload an image directly from the computer itself, which is great if you've saved an image to your desktop, or maybe this is you're using a device and you're actually uploading that image that you took from the device itself. You can also search from the web. So this is image that you're free to reuse. So if I did dog and I was talking about my day and I spent my day with my dog, so here we'll call this Manny, a little different dog, but they look a little bit different, but that would be my dog here. So I spent the day with him, so I can add it there. You also have the option to add photos directly from your drive. So if you've saved files to your drive, you can insert them here as well. You can add images by the URL. But the one I really want to point out is the camera. So I know some students have had trouble using the camera on the Chromebooks. And this is one way that they can use the webcam without having to actually open up the camera application on a Chromebook. So if I select this camera, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of the work I've done today. So as my camera loads, you will see here that I have done my math work for today of breaking down these numbers and adding them together. So I'm going to take a picture of this, and then I'm going to select Insert. Okay, so now I've inserted my math work into this journal here. So I'm talking about my day, I've done my math work, I've played with my dog. So within this, adding in images, there's a lot of really cool things you can do with images in Google Slides. And what's really cool about this is if I click this image of the dog, and maybe I want to just zoom in on his face, I can crop it. So up here in the toolbar, you're going to see where you see this rectangle image here. That means to crop. And the generic crop is in a square. So that's really just making it smaller. But if you hit the drop down arrow, there's more options here. And it's really cool because instead of having the image be a square, now you can make it a circle. So I'm going to turn this into here. So now my picture of my dog is a circle. And if I double click, I can drag this in, and now his face will be a smaller image of his circle here. So just a really cool tool for you to use when you're doing images to kind of make your presentations a little bit more unique. So before I leave here, we're going to go through some basic features. So you'll see that it just had that generic title background in the back. Probably not something I want to leave for this journal page. So I'm going to change this background by going up to Slide and going down to Apply Layout. Here I'm going to go all the way down to Blank. Blank is where I normally spend a lot of my time because I like to really manipulate the slides. So I'm going to choose Blank, and now you'll see those titles went away. So I might want to add in text again and put the text probably where I'd like to add it. So up here, you'll see text box. So if I select that and draw out, I can type in my name, so I can, or Student Learning Journal. Okay, so once we type this in, if we select it, we can go up where you see the font in the toolbar, and go down and select one of the generic fonts. If by any chance, maybe you really want to get creative, there are so many more fonts available within slides. So at the top here, you'll notice it says more fonts. And it's great because you can actually add in additional fonts that aren't even listed on that list. So if you'll scroll down, everything that is checked is going to populate within my fonts. But if I want to add another one, like Poppins looks pretty cool, so maybe I'm going to add Poppins, I select it and go down and press OK. So now Poppins will show up in my advanced fonts. Then I can change the font size. It needs to be a little bit bigger that it can be read. And then if I go over to these lines over here in the toolbar, it's going to change the alignment. So the alignment is the way the text is on the page. So maybe I want this to be centered on the page. And if you saw below that, these arrows actually make it either drop down in the text box, centered in the text box, or pull it to the top. And normally I go for the centering in the text box, so it's easy to navigate. So we've added that in here. It's great. Before we go on to the next feature, we're going to add in Google Slides. You can change the background color of the text box. So whenever you see the paint bucket lit up, that means you can fill in a color. It's going to paint the whole box behind it. So if I select fill color, then I can jazz it up a little bit. So let's maybe pick this turquoise as one of my favorites here that I choose. And it will change this background of the text box to whatever color I decide. If by any chance you want a custom color, you can choose custom. Down here at the bottom, if you hit that plus sign, you can add in the hex number to whatever color it is. You also saw that gradient is here, and that's just like that tie-dye of colors or colors that fade. So if you want to get a little fancy with fading colors, that option is there as well. Next to my paint bucket, I do have the pencil, which is the border color, so the outline of an object. If I select border color, I can make this box really just kind of stand out a little bit more. So I might choose black. And then next to that, if you notice, if I click off, you can't really see the border color. But if I click back onto that box, next to that are the border weights, and that's how thick or thin the border is. So I can make this border thicker. 3 or 4 is normally thick enough, depending on what you're using. So I'm going to choose 4, and you'll notice now that this text box really stands out, and it directs your attention there. And you can do this with images as well. So if you click on an object and you notice the pencil icon lit up, that means you can change the border color. All right, so we've looked in here, adding in those images for Drive, encouraging using the web camera to document work, maybe to show their work and their thinking. We've looked at cropping those images and then outlining them. So now we're going to look at the page layout. And a generic page layout is set to fit in the projector. So if I go up to File and I go down to choose Page Setup, you're going to notice the generic is widescreen 16:9. And this is the best fit for a projector when we are showing a presentation. But I'm going to show you a template made in Slides that looks a little bit different. So when I go into this file here, you'll see that my page setup is a little bit different, right? It's no longer widescreen. Now it's like vertical, and it's actually set up to be the size of a piece of paper. So this is our 8.5 by 11. So if I wanted to print it out, I could. And there's also more space here for really the students to manipulate and add in text and images and other things. So as I scroll down, you'll see that there's more text that was added in. They have more room to really manipulate work. So we're going to go in and we're going to change our Google slide to be more like this journal and change that setup. So again, to get to page setup, you're going to go up to the top left-hand side, select File, and then go down to where we see Page Setup. This generic page setup is widescreen. We're going to hit the drop-down arrow and go down to Custom. Underneath custom, it is set here to what the inches are. So 10 by 5.63. I'm going to change this to that paper size document, 8.5 by 11. You can choose to change this to centimeters, points, or pixels. I normally stick with inches, a more generic unit of measure that I can relate to, and then I choose apply. So you'll see now my page is set up so to be that 8.5 and 11, and I might have to adjust my image so it is no longer blurry for those that are viewing this presentation itself. So I am going to jump back into this notebook here, and it is really cool. And if you've noticed anything, there's stuff outside of the white box. And one thing to note is you don't have to stay within that white box when working in slides. When you are presenting, only that white box will appear. But if you're not using this as a presentation and you're using it as an interactive tool, you can use this whole gray space. So they're using this one as a drag and drop. So using this arrow to label an object. You might even use it. So I'll scroll down a little bit here. There are directions on the outside of the gray box. So maybe you're going to add the directions that you want the students to do on the outside, and the students are going to work here on the inside. So a really great way just to remember to use the entire space, and you are not limited to the inside box. So this is another template you will have access to on the presentation. So when you go to the remote teaching site and you see the presentation, you will have this template for you. So you'll see that icon down here. So if you go back to page layout, you'll be able to get that. All right, we are going to look at adding in a video. Okay, so one thing that you're being asked to do is record lessons of yourself and give them out to students. And one way you can do that is actually adding them into a Google slide presentation. We're going to show you how to do that. But you can also add in direct YouTube videos. So I'm going to go back to my student journal. And if I go over to the left-hand side, you'll see that plus sign for a new slide. I'm going to select the drop-down arrow next to that, and I'm going to choose go again to that blank slide because I really like the blank template. And we're going to add in our videos here. So if I go up in my toolbar to insert, you'll see the video icon. So it is gray in this toolbar. And if you go into your drive, you'll notice that same video icon for all your videos, but it will be red. I'm going to click on it. Here we can add in a YouTube video. So I'm doing math and we're doing addition. So maybe I'm going to look at to add an addition video. So it will search YouTube. Here you can find a video that matches or works for you. So we'll choose this one and we'll choose select. When you add in a video, you automatically get advanced features that pop up on the right-hand side. And what's really cool about this is not only can you preview the video, but you'll notice down here it says start and end at. This is a 12-minute and 47-second video. That is so long. So we might want to cut that down to just the important pieces, and you can do that. So you can change the start time to maybe 3:03 and the end time to 5:46. So if I've watched the video and I know exactly what content I want, you can change that here, and then your students would only see that section when they watch the video within the presentation. So that's a really cool feature here, but do note if they go to YouTube to view this video, they will be able to see the whole thing. I'm going to X out of this, and you notice that it pops up here. If they want to see this video, they can press play, and that video will begin from that section itself. The other thing you can do is maybe you've recorded in Google Meet or Screencastify, or you've added your videos in from Zoom. Those are all going to be stored in their Google Drive. So if you go up to insert and go back down to video, you'll notice that next to search and by URL, so by URL we're pasting in that YouTube video link, you'll see Google Drive. If you select Google Drive, you'll be able to choose videos that are recorded in your drive. So the first things you're going to see are my Screencastify videos. So those are the first things that pop up as videos in my drive. You'll see down here, there's that red video icon I was discussing earlier. What's really great here is that if I go to recent, I will be able to pull up my Google Meet here on Superman that was conducted by Jake. So there he is. This is my Google Meet. So it was recorded with Google Meet and added to my drive. If I select the video, that Google Meet will then be here for students to view. Now, one thing you have to make sure you do is change the view settings on your videos to make sure that students can view. So this one came from my drive. So what I need to do is when I'm in my Google Drive, when I look for that recent video, so I'm going to go to recent, I want to make sure I right-click on the video. Hold up there we go. And then we're going to select Get Shareable Link. And I'm going to do this just to make sure that the viewing sharing is on and that anyone with the PGCPS link can view. So those sharing settings are important because if they are not set to this, your students may have it blocked or it will stay restricted. So really good to know here. And just to see a sample of what this looks like in a full presentation, I do have a template to show you here. It is a fabulous hyperdoc on the Underground Railroad, and you will have access to this hyperdoc template on the remote teaching site. And if I scroll down here, one of their things were to listen to the story of Follow the Drinking Gourd. And so the students could then click on the video to listen to it play as if you were reading it in class. So just a great way to kind of interact with video within your presentation. Adding in audio. Why would I want to add in audio? So audio is a fantastic thing that you can add into your presentations, and it's great because you can give instructions to your students. So it's really powerful accessibility feature here, especially for our students that are just learning to read or haven't quite mastered that skill yet, or just maybe learn better when they hear things. So I'm going to show you a sample before we dive into how this is going to work. So here is a sample of a drag and drop. So now we're looking at more of a primary activity here, where the hyperdoc was more of an intermediate activity, where the students are going to drag the letter to the first for the first sound in the word. And so what I did is I recorded the directions on the side for the students to know what I want them to do. And if the students hover over the speech icon, you'll notice they have a play button. So if they select play, they can hear the directions on this slide. So it's really powerful for them to be able to know what to say. The other thing we did is we recorded what frog sounds like. So maybe they don't know what this image is. And I said, we had already learned that we're going to add in the first sound of frog. So I said frog on top of the frog so they could hear the F sound. So really powerful ways to add in audio, and I'm sure you've thought of many other ways that you can add it as we're showing these samples here. So how do we do this? So adding an audio is really easy. It's like adding in the image to the presentation. So I will go ahead and add a new slide. Maybe this time I'll choose one with a title, and then this one will be about my day. And then maybe I'm just going to record a little audio recording about my day. So when I go to add in audio, you're going to go here down to audio, and it's going to want you to select a file. So there's no way to actually record within Google Slides itself. So I have to come out of this and go somewhere to record my voice. Now, there are many tools out there for voice recording, and most computers come with an automatic tool inside for you to record audio, but this is one that's available online. It's free to use, and it's super simple. So it is called onlinevoicerecorder.com. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. As you see here, there's not much to this site. It just says click to start recording. So that's where I would start recording about my day. So I'm going to click the microphone, Okay, today was a fantastic day, worked with a lot of teachers, and I was teaching them all about Google Slides. When I'm done, I'll press stop, and the video will process. You do have the great option here to crop it. So if I want to cut out maybe the beginning and a little bit of the end where I was still talking, I have that ability to do that. So just dragging in the sides. When I'm finished, I'm going to then press save. So this is automatically going to download onto your computer. So it's not quite where we need it yet. We have to get this audio file to our Google Drive. So I'm going to go now from this recording and into my drive itself. So that's that triangle up here at the top. And then I'm going to go into my drive. And what I did was I actually made a folder called audio. And that just helps me kind of find where all my audio recordings are. So I went to new and I created a new folder. So here's my audio folder. So to get this recording there, I'm going to go down to the recording at the bottom left. And this is the same on a Mac as it is a PC. It's all going to go down to the bottom left. You're going to select the recording and you're going to drag it into where it says audio. So notice the plus sign. I'm hovering over audio and it says if you want to drop the folder instantly to add to audio. So I'm going to drop it down. And now you'll see on the right that it's uploaded this recording into my audio file. So I'll exit out of here and go back into this presentation that we've been working on. So now I can actually go back into and select Insert. And I'm going to go down to Audio. And now all my recordings are going to populate here. So I do have 3 that are just called Record because I've done this a few times. But you'll notice that this one is Record with a 3 on it because it's the 3rd one I've done. So I'm going to do that one and then also choose Select. So now my audio is added into the presentation. I can drag this out by going up to one of the corners and pulling it out to make that audio icon a little bit larger. On the side, it does say that you can play it automatically, so that only works in presentation mode. So not necessarily probably something you want to use when you're having students manipulate with things. You probably want it on click. That's normally my default, but you do have the option for audio to automatically play when you're presenting. All right, linking within slides. So what does linking do? Linking really helps us navigate our Google Slides as we are going throughout a presentation. It helps our students navigate where exactly you want them to go at a specific time. I'm going to open up this sample here, and this is a sample from Slides Mania. It is a slides template resource. And on this slides itself, you'll notice that it has these folders for the week. And instead of the students having to scroll down and find the direct folder, with linking, what you actually have the ability to do is select the first one and then go down to that file folder itself, so slide 4. So if I select slide 4, it's going to drop me all the way back down to Monday. So a really powerful tool that I can kind of bounce within a presentation without having to scroll and find it. So where is that? So we're going to go back to our journal here, and we're going to do some linking. So what I want to do first is have something to link to. So maybe I want to link the dog to about my day, or maybe about this attendance picture or this addition picture to my addition slide that we posted on too. So if I select the image, you'll notice at the top there is this icon for a link. And what the link does is it allows you to add in a hyperlink. So maybe I was taking this picture to Clever, I could do that. But if I go down a little bit farther, you have the options of slides in this presentation. So I can choose to send it to the next slide or a specific slide. So I'm going to choose slide 2 and press apply. So now my students can go right to the addition slide with the videos by clicking in that image itself. So just a nice way to navigate within slides. And you can add those links to pictures. You can also add them to text. So here's that text box, and you'll see the link is up here in the toolbar, a little bit more to the right-hand side. All right, so the best feature there is of all time is adding in a background. And this is really powerful because when you are giving work to students, how many times have they moved stuff around and you had to get it back? So it's really great to do this feature, and I'm going to show you why. So here's a hundreds chart, and I've already kind of manipulated it a little bit. But if I move these icons, these place value blocks to the side, and I try to move this 100 sheet or change these words, I can't do it. So it's so great that all the students have to do is then drag on top of this template instead of having to worry about whether they're moving the lines and the words around. I'm going to show you how this is done. It's really easy to do. So we'll go back into our student learning journal here. And I'm going to add another new slide. Again, I'm going to choose blank slide because I'll be able to really manipulate this to my own. So maybe I want to change this and I want to make it more into a chart feature. So I might start with adding in some lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in lines here. So I can go, and if I select it, it's going to be a straight line. There are more options to add in an arrow, a curvy line, and if I want a free draw, I could choose scribble. So I'm going to choose the straight line, and I'm going to click on my page and drag across. If I hold down Shift, it's going to make sure my line is straight here. It's really hard to see though, right? So it's kind of faded. So we're going to want to darken that up. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to go up to the toolbar. Now I have a little bit more advanced features to my line, and I'm going to make this a little darker. So we'll change the color and then maybe make that weight that 4 where it's a little bit thicker. So that's a little bit better here. So maybe about my day, and I'm organizing a little bit. So I have that straight line there, and then maybe I'm going to go and draw a straight line down. Again, I'm going to make it a little bit darker and make that weight a little bit thicker. So once I've done that, as we're going about this, so maybe we're going to have them organized, maybe a little social emotional learning. So I'm adding in a text box here. Good. Make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to duplicate this so that the font is going to be the same size. So I can duplicate the image, or I can do Control Paste. So I'll do Command C on my keyboard and Command V, or if you're on a PC, you'll do Control C and Control V. And then I can change to good to maybe some bad things about my day. So then from there, I can add in some other objects that maybe I'm going to want them to add in later. But this is going to be probably my overall template. It's really plain, not too pretty. I would probably jazz it up a little bit before giving it to my students. But the next phase that we're going to do in this is we're going to actually add this as a background. And to do this, once you're finished drawing your template, you're going to go up to File, and you're going to go down to where it says Download. From here, you're going to choose to download this as an image. So this can be either JPEG or a PNG file. So I'm going to choose PNG. The file is going to download over here on the bottom left-hand side. So I'm not going to leave this here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go up in my toolbar and select Background. Okay, so this is to change my background. I could also right-click to do the same thing. From here, I do have the option to change the color, but what you really need to do is change the image. So we're going to choose Image, and this is going to add this file to the whole back of the screen. So down here at the bottom, you'll notice that's where the image is stored. I'm going to click on the image and drag it in. Okay. So now, if I remove the image I have before, they won't be able to drag on top. So let me try that on one new slide here because I have that image on top of it. All right, there we go. So now I've added that image in, and I can no longer manipulate it at all. So that's how you're going to add in a template. So that's when we created the place value chart. That's where we put in that image for the day. So then from there, you could add in maybe shapes on the side where they're going to drag in maybe parts of their day. So we might change the color, make them a little bit brighter for them to say their day. So maybe they woke up early. But they played with their dog. That's probably a great thing. So then they could then drag these images on top without having to worry about changing that background, okay? So really great things for you to do there. Definitely recommend using background to enter in a template. Before we leave this page, I did add these shapes on the side. Notice I was able to change the color and to type in them. So you can choose any shape in your toolbar, and you can write inside those shapes itself. So you're not restricted to typing within a text box. You can type in any of the shapes that you have as an option here. So if you want to type in a circle, you have that option to draw out the circle, to change the color, and to type in that. Okay. One thing before I leave, because this is something that is going to bother me, is that I have black font on top of a blue circle. It is so hard to read. So be mindful of the colors that you're choosing. Dark blue is not a good idea for a black font. So I either need to make this font lighter as like a white, or I need to make this circle lighter so that my font can be seen. So just be mindful as you are creating things to make sure that we are making it visually appealing and that everything can be seen. All right, so we went over adding in shapes and filling them in, as well as using the line. Remember, if you do want some free drawing, Scribble is available. So just some tips when you are creating slides. Try to find your lesson focus and really make sure that you're not adding too many words and making it overwhelming. Focus in on what that you want the students to know. And everything doesn't have to be on one slide. You can space things out so that you have on one slide really what you want them to know, and then the next slide a little bit more. So you can use as many slides as you need to. Use the space for activities. Take up all that gray space to make learning happen. You are not restricted to that white box. And really think about what your students need. What do your students need to know? What do you want them to do? And don't forget to be creative. Every slide doesn't have to be a presentation tool. And before I leave, say, for instance, your students go like this. They copy all of the slides and they press delete and they are gone. And they email you right away, I deleted all of my work, okay? Then we know that this has happened. So your rescue here, if they've done this, go up to File in their work, choose File, go down to Version History, and go to See Version History. Here you'll be able to find everything that they've added in, and you can go back the last time they worked on it. And you can even go back further. So if there's a specific part of the presentation at some time that you want to find, you can go back here. It's also how you can see what their students' thought process was throughout this learning journey. So what you do is you'd click on the revision that you want to add back and select Restore this version. And now everything is brought back and you are their miracle teacher who saved all of their work. So really great tip for you there. All right, so important pieces of Google Slides is that collaboration piece, and we're going to dive into adding it into Google Classroom and different ways to present slides. So consider collaborating on slides and what that will look like. So one thing you can do is maybe you work with a team of people and you are sharing content. So one thing you can do is maybe this learning journal, I'm going to share with my colleague here. So I'm going to open up Share at the top right. And I could click Get Shareable Link at the top, and I could share this link with them. It is on view, so they wouldn't be able to edit it. I'd have to change this to anyone with link could edit, and to do that, I'd hit the drop-down arrow. I'd go down to More, and instead of this down here saying View, I would change it to Edit. You can also change this to comment as well. So just be mindful of your ways you are sharing. If this is a presentation for parents, do make sure that this is on for anyone with link can view. That requires no sign-in. That means anyone outside of the PGCPS domain can access the link without having to sign in. Where these ones down here, you have to be part of the PGCPS domain in order to view those links. I'm going to press cancel, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share this with my colleagues. I'm going to share this with Kim. I just have to simply type in their name, start typing in their email address, and click on their name. You'll notice she pops up here under people. I can add in a note for her of maybe what I want her to do, and then I'm going to give her edit rights. I could change this to only let her comment or view. I do always normally leave on notifying people. That's going to give them an email address that says they are invited to this presentation. I'm going to then select send. If at any time I want to take these rights away, I will go back up to share, and I will go down and push this advance, which is in the bottom corner. And I can change this from edit. I could make her the owner of this presentation, or I could change it to view. I can also set up an expiration date. So maybe that she's only going to be able to edit this until midnight tonight. I can do that as well. Or I can add more people to continue working on this, so you can add as many collaborators as you need. All right, so I'm going to press done. Kim will find her way to this document because we're going to do a little bit of exploring. So she should be getting an email shortly. One thing to note is that feedback is really important on these times and ways to communicate to students. So one great way for this to work is if you go up to the top, you'll notice that you have a comment history, and you can view the comments that are made throughout the presentation or add a new comment. To add a comment, you can simply select a text box or an image. I'm going to select the text box. And next to that link icon that we used earlier, there's a little chat bubble. And that chat bubble allows me to add in a comment. So if I wanted to make feedback on the journal itself, like looks like a fun day, I can do that. I can add a comment to someone specific themselves. So if I wanted to assign this to Kim, and I would go up and I'd go back to that comment bubble on the image. I'm going to move link out of the way so you can see. Maybe we'll choose this one. And I want to assign something to Kim. I want her to get a notification. You're going to hit the plus sign on the keyboard and then type in their email address. So Kim's going to come up first just because I've been communicating a lot with her today, but if I type in someone else's address, they would come up. But I'm going to stick with Kim because we're working on this project together. And then I can add a note for her. So I might say, can you add more about this image? And I can choose to assign it to her. So that would mean this work is for her. And then I can press assign. So now Kim gets a notification in her email that she's been assigned a task in this Google Doc. So really or Google Slides. So it's really a great way to kind of continue adding in feedback and collaboration with your students during this time. So beyond that, you will notice when Kim entered in this presentation, her image showed up at the top. So whenever you see images show up at the top, that means they're in the presentation then. So I have the bright circle. If she was to not be in the presentation at that time and was idle, her image would be grayed out. It means she has it open, but she's not actually working in it. At any time, if I want to find out where Kim is, I can simply select her face or her icon, and it will take me to her. So you'll notice that hers is lit up pink, and the pink is actually going on in the slide itself. So it shows me that she is writing in the slide, and I can see the feedback she's giving. You do also have another option for collaboration here, and next to Kim's icon at the top, you'll notice it says Show Chat. So this is a way that you can have a conversation going on within a Google slide itself if you wanted to maybe have a quick conversation and not do a comment feature. So really cool way to have a conversation within a Google slide. At any time as this comments are being resolved or being taken care of, you can press resolve and it will make the comment go away. You can find them again by going up to that chat bubble next to present to find the comment history. So we looked at ways to share, getting that shareable link and making changes to the shareable access with your team as you are sharing these Google Slides and working collaboratively together. But we want to make sure that you're sharing this work with your students too. So how do we do that? So we want to make sure we're adding these assignments into Google Drive for that seamless integration. And to do that, I'm going to go into my Google Classroom here, my sample Google Classroom for you. So I have this assignment already open. I'm going to just go ahead and exit out. You're going to go up to the top and choose Create. You're going to then go down to Assignment. So we're going to title this one, so this is our learning journal. Remember that Create would add in something new, and we're going to go and we're going to add something we've already done. So that's going to be this paper clip with the ad, and I'm going to choose Google Drive. So we're going to pull up the most recent thing we did. You can search for things in the toolbar, but we're going to pull in that student learning journal and select Add. It is set by default, students can view file. If this is a presentation, so it is not something you want your students to manipulate or move around, it's just something you want them to look at, you can leave it on students can view file. It does not have to be made a copy of unless you want them to do some type of editing within the document itself. So if it's just your presentation, leave it at students can view file. If you're doing a collaborative project, you're going to have it be under students can edit file. But if this is maybe an assignment just for themselves, so this is that student learning journal where they're adding in about their day and what they're reflecting on what was happening, you're going to want to make a copy for each student so it's given directly to the kids in the class individually instead of as a whole. So I'm going to choose make a copy. If I wanted to send it to multiple classes, I could go under 4 and choose my different classes I wanted to share this with. Or maybe I could share it with just specific students in the class because only certain students are going to get this learning journal. I have that option here. And then when I'm finished, I will then go ahead and select Assign. So now every student in this class will have their own copy of the student learning journal. Now I did something that I regretted because one thing I like to do is keep my Google Classroom organized, and this learning journal should have been underneath a specific topic. So I am going to click and drag it underneath decimals so that my work stays organized within my classroom. One other way that you can do is you can actually publish your Google Slides. And what this means is that when your slides are published, they're not going to be in the same format of typical Google Slides. So here I have the toolbar, or if it was view only, I would only be able to see the view. When I publish a Google Slide, when I select File, I go down and I go under Publish to Web. So that means I'm going to make a link that's going to have like a different view file of the slide itself. So when I select Publish to Web, I can choose to auto-advance the slides. I can change this maybe to every 10 seconds, and then I'm going to select Publish. I'm going to select OK. I do want to publish this. And then I have a link here. So this is a different link than the sharing link. It's not the same published link. It's going to show up a lot differently. So what I'm going to do is show you what that looks like in another tab here of what a published slide would look like on the user end. So you notice they don't have the toolbar, they don't have any of the other options. All they have the option here to do is really see the published view of clicking through the slides. So if you share your presentations with students, this might be a really great way is to add this link in instead. Presenting slides. When you are presenting slides, there's a couple of things that we want to hand out as tips as you go along. One is closed captions. So you'll notice as I'm talking now, there's captions going on at the bottom. So when you're doing your Google Meets and Zooms and you're sharing your screen with your students, you can turn on closed captions. And to do that, in presentation mode, you get a toolbar. So I'm going to hover over here. You'll see that you have the option for Q&A, notes, pointer, and then you have captions. So captions is on when I select it. It does turn yellow. You can move the captions up to the top so you can position them a little bit differently within your screen. So that's a nice kind of tool to use within presentations itself. The other thing you can do is, how many of you have ever seen when people are presenting, they have a clicker in their hands, then it clicks back and forth automatically without having to be at the computer itself. So there is an extension called Remote for Slides. You'll see, we'll add the link in here, but the extension is up in my toolbar, in my extension bar. You do have to add the extension first. Once you have added the extension, you will have the option to present with remote. When I select present with remote, you'll notice I have a link down here at the bottom. I can go to this link on my tablet, or I can go on my phone and choose start remote. You'll get a unique code here, and you can actually flip through the slides using your phone. You don't have to purchase an additional clicker. So it's a great tool there for you to use, just like a little tip there as you are presenting for others. So that Remote for Slides is there for you. It is an extension, and we will add that link in the toolbar if it's something you're interested in downloading. So the other option is the presenter view. So that's the way your students may see the screen. When you're using Meet or Zoom, we recommend that you click the drop-down arrow next to present and choose presenter view. And we do this so that you have that toolbar at the top. So if you're clicking between tabs, it's a lot easier with presenter view. When I go to present full screen, I'm not going to have my tabs available. So I will go full screen here. You'll see I don't have any tabs here. It's my entire screen. I can't click around, so kind of hard to navigate. I will exit out. Whereas presenter view, when I go to presenter view, I still have the tabs. My speaker notes can pop up, but I can click around here. It's a little bit easier to show you. So some resources and tips before we leave. We are running out of time. If you are a PowerPoint user and lover, you can still use PowerPoint and convert them to Google Slides. I'm going to show you how that is done with a PowerPoint itself. So what I have to do first is go to my Google Drive. And then I'm going to need to upload a file from my computer, because remember, PowerPoint saved to the computer itself. So I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to drop down and choose File Upload. So I will have to find a PowerPoint here that I'm going to upload to my Google Drive. So you have to upload it first. I'm going to go to my desktop, and here I have a sample PowerPoint. So I'm going to select that and choose Open. Once I've opened it up, it will start to upload to my drive. So it is uploading. I have added it before. I'm going to keep it a separate file, and then I'm going to click on it to open it. When I open up the PowerPoint, it's still working. It's going to open up. There we go. It's just taking a minute to load here. All right, it's not quite loading here for me. Let's try again. So I'm actually going to go ahead and open up a new tab. Y-Drive is freezing here on me. For you to see. So I'm just going to go here to Google and back down to my slides. When I open up this this PowerPoint document, you're going to notice in another slide, it will say that I need to open this with a new file. There we go, finally. All right, so when it comes up, you'll see it says open with at the top. What I need to do now is hit the drop-down arrow and choose Google Slides. Unfortunately, you're not done yet. What happens once you come into Google Slides from that PowerPoint is you still will have .ptx, I believe, at the top. There it is, pptx at the top, which means I don't have all my Google Slides capabilities, and I do need to convert it. So before you're finished, before you can add this into Google Classroom, you do need to go to File on the left and choose Save as Google Slides. And then you have fully converted this presentation from a PowerPoint to a Google slide. There are apps to enhance, and we will be going through some of these tools in some upcoming training. So Pear Deck and Nearpod are two of them. They are add-ons to slides to make them interactive. So really cool features there. Poll Everywhere is another tool as well. So we have tons of templates for you here. Most of these templates are already forced copy, and I'll show you what that means. But if they are not a forced copy, when you open them up, choose File and Make a Copy. So what a forced copy is we've already done that File, Make a Copy for you. And when you do open it up, what you will choose is to copy. And then that file will be yours, and it will go into your Google Drive. So you'll see Make a Copy here. So more templates for you to use. We do have additional resources and themes. So if you're looking to create new and different themes here, Slides Mania and Slides Go are my favorite. And then Google has some great resources for you to kind of dive a little bit deeper into slides. Remember to fill out the missing attendance form to make sure that your attendance is collected for today's session. And if you want more information on tools or just need a little bit more support, feel free to reach out and contact us. Remember, all our resources will be housed at our remote teaching site at bit.ly/PGCPS remote teaching.